everyone, and welcome to What Do You Believe? We're excited and happy that you're watching, and I'm happy that my friends Maureen and Dr. Sharia are here. Dr. Sharia, I know that you got a PhD in molecular biology. Is that true? And Maureen, you're an electrical engineer.
Yes,
You worked
I am.
at Boeing for years. You're still in aerospace. That's right.
Right.
All right. Well, happy that you guys are here and that you're going to ask questions or you're going to tell us what you think. Dr. Nagy, you're always here.
Yes.
That's good. We're happy
you.
that you're here. Dr. Nagy Eskandar is a medical doctor and he's the fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons of England, and you've practiced surgery for 25 years. I'm just double checking my facts today.
Yeah, absolutely right. All of them are okay. Yes.
We're happy and excited that we're talking about this, and if you don't mind, in a few minutes, tell us why are you here? Why are we doing this?
We are doing this because it is important to know who we are and where we come from. If we are created by God, we have a purpose in our life and there is eternity. If we came as a result of haphazard chemical reactions, how can we trust even our mind to judge anything? Because this mind was formed by interaction which happened haphazardly. So it's really important to know our origins because that determine how we behave and our future as well. We are surrounded with many exclamation mark and question mark, and the aim of this program is to address some of them.
And you were telling us that this set, there was no way it happened by chance.
Exactly.
There was a designer, there was people that worked on it, and we thank you guys. We really like the set, so thank you for all your hard work and for everybody for their hard work at Karma TV. So, Doctor, we're gonna go back and try to discuss. We talked about a lot of different things, but
Exactly.
we're going more in depth into the story of creation versus the story of evolution, or a lot of different thoughts. So let's keep going in that direction.
We are talking about the development of humans mainly, and we talk about the intermediate Australopithecus afarensis, which is called Lucy. And on the screen, I would like to show you how Lucy is displayed in the museums. In the Living World exhibit in St. Louis Zoo, they put her leg like this with lots of hair and like a human leg. As I said, there is no fossil record of Lucy's bones in her feet and the foot. So to display like this, it gives you the impression this is a human foot. This is completely, really, and grossly unscientific.
Is this the most convincing evidence? I know you're probably going to go into other intermediates, but is that why everyone knows of Lucy, or why is it? Is it the most convincing?
It is the most popular
fossil?
Intermediate, fossil intermediate. That's
but
right.
It's the 40% is the highest amount of completion that we have for any of the intermediates.
Exactly. For Lucy, yes.
But what about the other ones?
Yeah,
Do you have higher percentage?
I'll tell you about the other intermediates. You'll find some were hawks, some were humans. We will come to them in full detail when we have more fossil record about them.
But the most convincing one is Lucy, which is why everybody knows.
Exactly, and it's only 40% skeleton we got, and there are missing important parts of Lucy. Right, so let us see this video again. I think we showed that in a few episodes before. That's Dr. Owen Lovejoy, and he found that Lucy's hip is not really suitable for standing, so he made a replica of the fossil. He didn't want to tamper with the fossil itself, so he made a replica, and he went to his laboratory, and let us see what he has done.
This has caused the two bones, in fact, to fit together so well that they're in an anatomically impossible position.
The perfect fit was an illusion that made Lucy's hip bone seem to flare out like a chimp's. But all was not lost. Lovejoy decided he could restore the pelvis to its natural shape. He didn't want to tamper with the original, so he made a copy in plaster. He cut the damaged pieces out and put them back together the way they were before Lucy died. It was a tricky job, but after taking the kink out of the pelvis, it all fit together perfectly, like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. As a result, the angle of the hip looks nothing like a chimp's, but a lot like ours.
So as we have seen in the video, Dr. Owen Lovejoy imagined that Lucy must be standing. So he made a replica of the fossil, and he started to change the angles to make her stand, because standing is a very complicated thing, really. There are changes in the hip, changes in the knee, because the knee has to lock in so it can carry my body weight. The foot has to be 3-point fixation and the center of gravity in the middle. There are lots of mechanisms needed for standing, and the fossils that he got for Lucy is not convincing that she was standing, so he tried to imagine how it should be if she is standing, and that's what we have seen. So Lucy as an intermediate really is questionable, and it is part of apes, and it is not an intermediate between human and apes at all. Now let us come to another intermediate or supposed intermediate called Neanderthal man. And Neanderthal was, the bones were found in Germany, and then they found in other parts of the world. And they have the picture of Neanderthal, like what we can see on the screen here. In 1856, they pictured Neanderthal as a very muscular person. And then in 1983, it's like a modern man. And then changing faces of Neanderthal in the times. We have these different faces called Neanderthal. This all artistic impression of the bones that they have. And this is the different pictures. I'm just going through them very quickly. CNN presented Neanderthal like this. And Newsweek in March 2007 presented Neanderthal in that position. And then the scientificdaily.com presented Neanderthal in that shape. And there is a Neanderthal museum in Germany, and you can find the different pictures of Neanderthal in the 19th century. Neanderthal Museum, you have all this picture of the Neanderthal and their life together, the life that they imagined they had lived. What are the archaeological evidence? Neanderthal was 100% human, and recently actually on the BBC they declared that Neanderthal is fully human. But let us see the characteristics of Neanderthal. He made sophisticated spears, needles, and stone tools, and apes cannot do that. He used makeup and seashell jewelry, so there was a sort of cosmetic industry. Hunted dolphins and seals. Controlled use of cooked food and fire. Built huts from animal skin. Made flutes and musical instruments from the femur bone of other animals. He did some surgery and there is ceremonial burial of their dead. Apes don't have ceremonial burial of their dead, but Neanderthal, there is evidence, archaeological evidence of they buried their dead. Made and sailed ships and boats. Possessed the hyoid bone, and this is part here of the structure near the larynx, and he has the gene FOXP2, and that is responsible for speech. So Neanderthal was completely human. It is not an intermediate at all. So when we dissected the Neanderthal skeletons and we have seen the lifestyle that they lived, it tells us it was 100% human. Now, more problematic missing links. Let us see some of them. There is something called Piltdown Man. In 1912, they came with an intermediate and they called him, that is the Piltdown Man, and that's a place in England. The evidence that they found: piece of the jaw, 2 molar teeth and a canine tooth, and a piece of skull. These are the specimens that they found. Can you imagine that from piece of a jaw and 2 molar teeth and a canine and a piece of a skull to have this picture of this skull in front of us, a face like this? It's very difficult, really. And they confidently interpreted it as 500,000 to 1 million years old. They gave it an age. And this range of age in itself is questionable. 500,000 to 1 million. As if 500,000 doesn't make a difference. The difference of estimating the age of this specimen is 500,000 to 1 million years old. And they said no possible doubt that this represents the intermediate link of our remote ancestors, the apes. In 1953, it was discovered it was a hoax. Some, unfortunately, British and French scientists got these specimens and they painted them to look old, and they were just recent specimens or bones of an ape.
How did they determine the original number of how old it was?
Yeah, this is again estimates. They say, oh, we found this bone in this layer, and they give the age of the layer, and the age of the layer gives the age of the bone. And it's a circular argument, actually. And the layers are estimated even before the radiometric dating. They have the geological column before the radiometric dating, which became more popular in 1950, or 30 to 50. But the geological column was established with dates and times earlier than that, about 200-300 years before that.
But they don't use the radiometric dating to confirm?
Yeah, they use the radiometric dating, but not to confirm all these dates, because it doesn't fit all these dates. But when we study the catastrophic geology, we will know that the deposition of these layers can happen very quickly. It doesn't need that length of time. They started this length of time based on the assumption that it's uniformitarian, that the deposition happened very regular and very gradual over millions of years. So it depends how we interpret the facts.
Well, doctor, if you don't mind, let's take a short break.
Sure.
And we'll come back to more intermediates.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like a copy of this episode, please call 714-709-4300 or email us at info@alkarmatv.com. You can also visit our website at www.alkarmatv.com. Also, you can write to P.O. Box 3610, Seal Beach, California, 90740.
Welcome back to What Do You Believe? And Doctor, we're talking about more intermediates, or what is believed to be intermediate.
Yes, and we just finished Piltdown Man and proved it was a hoax. Let us come to Nebraska Man. Nebraska Man was discovered in 1922, and they said confidently this is an ape man intermediate. Do you know what they discovered? They discovered one single tooth. From one single tooth, they imagined this man and his wife and the area that he lived in and the circumstances and the jungle and everything. Then in 1927, they reinterpreted the single tooth and they found it is an extinct pig. So if you want to see Nebraska Man, this is Nebraska Man. I always give this example actually and say, imagine if you are a Christian living in 1922 and all the media at the time is telling you, we found the intermediate. The Bible is wrong because we have found an evidence of an intermediate creature between humans and ape. And the evidence is only one tooth. And then in 1927, they come back and say, oh, we were wrong. I think if I'm living during these 5 years, I will be in between two minds. Would I believe the Bible or believe the science of the day? The science of the day was wrong and is changeable. The Bible is the Word of God according to the Christian faith. And as I said previously, we have evidence of the truth of the Bible and the documentation of the Bible and history in the Bible. We have massive evidence about the truth of the Word of God, the Bible. So Nebraska Man, actually, people are, the evolutionists are really shy when we bring them into discussion because they know it was completely wrong. It was really, really something they are not proud of. Let us come to another intermediate, which is Boxgrove Man, and evidence that they found one chin bone and clearly human, 2 teeth, clearly human, and primitive stone tools, and that's clearly human. So the Boxgrove Man is a completely human, and it's nothing to do with apes at all. They estimated it's 300,000 to 400,000 years. But again, these estimates are way, way away from the accurate measurements of anything. It is just assumptions and estimates, which is not really clear. So the identity of Boxgrove Man is 100% human post-Babel after the distribution of the human population that happened after the Tower of Babel. Let me show you these 7 little bones on the screen now. And this is called Behind the Scene in the National Geographic in March 2000. And it's telling us they found this specimen and they tried to build it up to show how this person or this animal or this intermediate looks like in the time. So that's an article in the National Geographic, as I said. It's called Behind the Scenes. They said it's hard to find someone who can draw a realistic looking early humanoid. So they believe that's a humanoid. That's why the Geographic Art Department, so Geographic Art Department, it's not the scientific department, it's the art department, conducted a search for new talent. 4 artists were picked up to receive the casts for 2 million-year-old female Homo habilis fossil. So these fossils are from Homo habilis, and they estimated it's 2 million years old. They were to sketch in skeleton and fleshed out form the humanid to whom the bones belong to. So the exercise now is they are asking artists to come and examine these 7 bones and try to build the man or the woman that these bones belong to.
But those bones had features that made them think that they're human and not even from a different animal? Like, what's the evidence for showing that they're even close?
They think it's humanoid. It's not animals, not apes or man. And that's an assumption again. And they know it is a female because of the sacrum again. The sacrum bone is in here. But the structure of the bone and the anatomy of the bone doesn't tell them. You can see all of this. That cannot tell us anything except from the sacrum you can suggest it could be a female. That's all.
And there's no other evidence?
No other evidence. No anatomical evidence, nothing at all.
No. And the DNA is not intact in those because they're so old?
That's very difficult to find an intact DNA more than 100,000 years. And they are estimating this to be more than that. So very difficult to find an intact DNA more than 100,000 years. So each artist had 2 weeks with these bones before they were sent on to the next person. Says coordinator, she said research was completely up depending on the individual. That's why their work was different from one to another. Paleontologists reviewed the results, intrigued by the wonderful work that the artists came up with, and let us see that work. So the first artist put the head like this, which is a mixture between man and ape, and another one more like a man, and this is another like man, and this is a mixture between ape and man because there is high ridge above the ear, above the eye. And then this structure was based on these 7 bones that you can see on the screen. I like to know the artistic input in this structure. These are how we stand: the gaboons, the humans, the chimpanzee, the gorilla, the length of the upper limb to the lower limb. In the apes, the upper limbs are sometimes longer than the lower limbs or equal. In the humans, we are about 3/4 of the length between the upper limb and the lower limb. So let us see how they constructed these 7 bones. The first one made the arms, the upper limb, very long, coming to the mid-thigh, and made the face between human and between ape. The second one made the hands very long, reaching up to the knee, because they are imagining what it is. And then the face more like a human. The third one make him as if it is knuckle walker, so it is locking at the wrist joint here, and you can see that on the drawing here. But they are all standing. And then the fourth one put him on a tree and with a head like an ape, and all the rest like a human. All that was based on the 7 bones that we have seen earlier, and this is the artistic outcome. So you go to a museum and see all these exhibits and say, oh, there is an evidence here of an intermediate between apes and man, but this was based on very little information.
So I guess a counter-argument could be, oh, maybe the case for humans is not as strong, but we inferred it because, say, there's evidence from these whales with little legs, and that's how, you know, that's an intermediate and stuff. Can you comment on that?
Yes, the whales is a big issue, really. Have they started on Earth and then they became animals on water, or they came from water up to Earth? And there is a big difference between the two routes, really. And the changes that happen is not only the heads and the limbs. You have to change the respiratory system. You have to change the circulating system. The nostrils are different from the one on the Earth and one supposed to come from the sea. So the whales is a big topic in itself. But let us concentrate really on the intermediate in humans.
Well, I guess my question was, people, if there is a lot of other evidence for intermediates in, say, other species, then they probably would have an easier chance or reason to infer for the human ones.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking, are those there? Or
no, they are not.
Are they the same
They are
evidence as this, or even?
It's the same quality of evidence, really.
Okay.
And it is assumptions, based on assumptions. But there is no solid intermediate in all of this.
Okay.
But the whales is a different lecture in itself, in full detail about the nostrils and where it's opened and all of that.
I mean, if you think about it, there's like a lot of bones in a lot of areas. There's a lot of fossils, and why would they use these specific examples? Because there's a lot of them. So if they're using these specific ones, then why would you choose this to make assumptions and to bring in artists?
Because
and to make
that was the nearest to their understanding of an intermediate. So because that's what they wanted to see, they found some fossils and they can assemble them in a way that can give them the impression of an intermediate. But when you study that in detail, in anatomical structure, you find there is lacking essential parts of being an intermediate. So nobody comes with saying this is an intermediate 100%. If we found an intermediate 100%, the whole argument would collapse.
And what is an intermediate 100% anyways? Because what are you looking for?
Yeah, you're looking for characteristics of an ape and the characteristic of human.
Transition,
exactly.
Yeah.
And if it is true, that means you find thousands and millions of transitions if it happens over millions of years.
And that's why Lucy is popular, right? The location where they found Lucy, they make the assumption that it was a place where humans and apes resided for a long time, where the transition happened, and that's why Lucy got really a big popularity.
Yeah.
But in reality, what they found is what they found.
Yeah.
And it was exciting for them to find anything close to in between in that area, because they had lots of bones for humans, lots of bones for apes, and they wanted to find that intermediate there because that would prove it.
Yeah, exactly. So it starts with assumption, and there is no solid intermediate. If they found one, they will be just, okay, that's it. We're asking for only one. You expect to find millions if it happens over a long period of time, but we don't. So that's the structure of the human deviation, if you like, between apes and human, and it's very complicated. I will not go into that in detail at all. But the conclusion here, the confusion now looks set to increase still further. As they discover more and more specimen, they redesign all of that, and they keep coming with different things all the time.
Well, thank you, guys. We'll have to continue in different episodes.
Right.
So C.S. Lewis said that atheism turns out to be too simple. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should have never found out that it has no meaning. But what do you think? Ask yourself, what do you believe? Thank you for watching.